How's it going? Another week. We are now into mid-fall. You know, a lot of people have put the boats away for the year. I'm seeing less and less anglers on the water. Docks are being pulled out. The trees are turning red and orange and yellow. You know, we were talking with a couple other people this morning, and one thing we did note is it's a beautiful backdrop for a photo this time of year. So if you're still out chasing fish, if you're still out boating, I encourage you, get out there, have some fun, enjoy the weather. It's gonna still be 60 in the 50s. It's not brutally cold yet. Again, we talked last time about layering up. You know, I'm out here in a hoodie, a pair of sweatpants. We have the same type of stuff. We might take out ice fishing, whether it's long underwear. There are still plenty more weeks ahead of us to get in the boat and enjoy some fishing. But for the majority of you, you're probably putting an end to your season. So a few things I want to touch on as we come to a close on an open water season for many, but for some, you're still out there chasing a lot of fish, and I want to talk about some tactics that are still working in the boat and a couple pointers as we transition from open water into fall, whether it be the hunting season, whether it be whatever else you're doing for the next month or two until ice fishing. We will talk about some of the transitional stuff. So for one, getting back to the nitty gritty on the fishing side of things, we're still seeing a lot of fish relating to shallow. The water temps continue to drop. We've had some very cool nights this week. We actually had some frost warnings. We had some nights where it dropped into the low 30s. I think one day my truck might have said 30, 31 even. So it was chilly. There was frost in the grass. Some of my friends in northern Minnesota were joking around. They had little kiddie pools maybe on the back deck, and there's some ice on them, and they said, hey, you know what, I'm seeing some ice already. I have friends and stuff out in Colorado and that part of the country that are already seeing snow and ice forming on some of the lakes. Believe it or not, we're a ways away from that here in the metro area. We still have easily a month before we're going to see any kind of skim ice from that regard. So in terms of the fishing patterns, again, fish are moving shallow, the fish are feeding, the weeds are laying down nicely. You can fish a lot of different presentations, not just weedless applications, but you can burn crankbaits. You can do a number of things right now to catch fish. Everything's shallow as well. So you're catching your big bass, you're catching your pike, you're catching your muskies, you're catching your big walleyes in 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 feet of water. You're catching panfish. They're all up there shallow. Another thing is you're getting some fish in the channel area. So if you have a lake where there's a neck down, what that creates is some current. It also attracts bait fish. And guess what? Those variables attract game fish, the fish that we're feeding. So look towards some of those neck down areas to provide current, provide bait fish, provide game fish, get you more hook sets. If you don't have those sorts of areas, inside weed lines are starting to really turn on. I always like to look towards those really long, expansive dock lines. You know, we see those shorelines in the summer where there's tons of docks. And as these anglers and as these lake homeowners, I should say, start to pull their docks, I go right back through those dock areas and I fish shallow presentations, and we seem to get bit, especially for big bass. You can throw top water, buzz baits, prop baits for bass, even big muskies are up in those shallow areas. But one bit I've been throwing lately, especially on guide trips, has been very easy to fish. It's been catching a pile of fish, is a chatterbait. And one thing I like to do differently with my chatterbaits, you buy most chatterbaits and they come with a nice silicone skirt, just like you see in a traditional spinnerbait. And I've caught a lot of fish doing that, but they get beat up pretty fast. So what I've done, I may start with that skirt. If that skirt gets beat up, you know, I switch to a plastic tail, something with some kind of paddle or a thump, a creature bait tail. This happens to be the Buzz Bug for Mr. Twister. It's just a paddle tail type bait. You can pitch these on a jig, a number of different applications, but I put these on the back of that chatterbait. Seems to work very well. I can get several fish on this, change the profile, change the appeal, get a little thump vibration going on top of that, and it gets things staying safe, gets things back out there more instead of dealing with some of the silicone skirts. So what I see a lot of anglers do, whether it's a spinnerbait, whether it's a chatterbait, whatever it might be, is once that silicone skirt gets beat up, they throw it in the bottom of the tackle box. This chatterbait right here without that silicone skirt is still a very valuable piece of my equipment. All I have to do is just add a soft plastic tail, and guess what? I'm back in action. So don't just chuck these at the bottom of your boat. Unless you're very independently wealthy and you can go buy a new one whenever you want, grab them. They can still be used. Same thing with spinnerbaits. So if you got a bunch of spinnerbaits without silicone skirts, don't get discouraged. Put a plastic tail on the end. You can also go buy spare skirts. Very easy process. So chatterbaits are a very easy and effective way to fish. And all I'm doing with this right now, because there are so many pike up in the shallower water, I'm using like a 20 or 30 pound vicious braid. Just a nice green round braid. I'm pitching that out there on probably a 1/2 ounce to 3/4 ounce chatterbait size. I can fish it effectively. If there's a little bit of wind and cold, I can cast this thing a long ways. And the beauty of it, it can be just a cast and retrieve bait. So if your hands are getting cold, you need to burn some energy, you need to create some energy, cast this around. I bet you get bit. Very easy presentation. And I'm just using the baitcaster, Shimano baitcaster. It gets out there along dip ways. And then rod of my choice would be a 7-foot-ish, medium heavy, depending on how heavy the bait's going to be. And away you go. You can throw these on a spinning rod too. I'd put a medium heavy spinning rod. Same type of line if you want. And the 2500 series Shimano would work great in that regard. So chatterbait, spinner baits, that sort of stuff. Lipless crankbaits. Also shallow diving crankbaits and some of your like husky jerks for trolling right now. So a lot of fish are starting to move shallow. It's going to be consistent. Another big tip this time of year, not a tip for some, but maybe for others, turn to live bait. If you want to stay bundled up, my Mr. Heater starts coming into the boat with me this time of year. The Buddy Heater keeps me warm, keeps my feet warm, and then I also can fish big minnows underneath the float. That can work very well. Outside of that, it's the time of year we have to really start thinking about winterizing our boat. Give the guys at Foster Brothers Marine a call. Stop in there. Get your boat serviced and winterized. It's very important. Too many boaters and anglers don't do the necessary precautions to avoid future problems. So at this time of year, make sure you change the oil. Make sure you do the things you're supposed to. Grab your owner's manual for your outboard, your inboard, whatever motor type you have, and read it over. If you have any questions, again, call or stop by Foster Brothers. They will help you out, answer questions, and make sure you're on the right path. You can get your oil, you can get your filters, you can get all the things you need to change your oil in your outboard if you wish to do that yourself and store it in your garage. So make sure you go through the necessary precautions. Clean out the water from your live well. Drain it out. Flush things through. You don't want any water in your lower unit or anything that could be harmful if it freezes. So make sure you go through your boat properly. Clean it out the way you want. Take stuff out that can't get wrecked or ruined in the off season. Start a checklist. Probably the easiest thing you can do. Just start a checklist of some things that you want to get done to your boat before you put it away, and make sure you do that. Very simple. Other things, as we transition from open water to ice fishing, let's say, I've been running a Vexilar flasher in the bow of my boat. Make sure you take it off. Don't forget it in your boat. Bring it on the ice with you. Very simple unit. This is a year-round product. Same thing with your Lowrance GPSs. Take those off. Use them in your truck. Use them on an ATV or snowmobile. Put them on a blue box. Put them on a mobile system so you can have sonar or GPS while you're out ice fishing. If you're driving around in your truck or your ATV or your snowmobile, you can act just like you are in your boat. You have all your waypoints, all your trails, all your specialty spots marked all summer long with you on the ice. So just a couple pointers as we move into the next season. You know, it's going to be another winter ahead of us. We're going to be back on the water again before you know it. Again, make sure you reach out to the guys at Foster Brothers Marine. Get your questions answered as you move into your fall, early winter, winterization period. And have fun this winter. We'll see you at a show. We'll be out there. See you next time.